Welcome, witches. You're listening to the Confident Witch podcast, where magic meets real life. I'm Solinox Silverstar, high priestx, shopkeeper witch, and the slightly feral voice behind Weavers of the Web and Keys to Manifestation in Lansing, Michigan. And here we speak of witchcraft and sovereignty, divine messiness and sacred discipline, community building and confidence, especially when the world is in tower times. This episode is for everybody just trying to hold the line. For the protectors, for the ones who feel the chaos and yearn for stillness. Now, I know it's been a few weeks since I've recorded. The trees have traded their spring blossoms for summer leaves. We've had nasty storms, waves of heat and cold. And I got one or two episodes partially drafted, but just didn't make it out my mouth. Was the time not right? Or did I get in my own way? I'm working on worrying less about that sort of thing this year. I am new to all of this podcasting and all this content that I've been making. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to do the thing and trust in the process and your feedback. I got busy. I let that one missed episode turn into a looming cliff. But hey, look, here we are now. Wasn't that silly of me? Little lesson for myself on procrastination there. Just do the thing. Eat the frog, as the saying goes. But also a reminder to slow down every once in a while, because I do get a lot more done after I let myself rest. I don't feel so busy or overwhelmed. So speaking of slowing down, let's get serious now and dive into what this episode is really about. The cleric in a time of war. And first, it's time for stillness. There's a link to a video of iron stillness in the show notes if you want to see how it's done. If your hands are free to do so, hold them cupped before you to receive and protect the light of the gods, and breathe in with me to the count of 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Release, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in calm and steady strength. Lengthen your spine deep in the earth. Release your cares down to the ground. Rest in the knowledge of your right to exist. Breathe in calm and steady strength. Lengthen your spine deep in the earth. Release your cares down to the ground. Rest in the knowledge of your right to exist. How do you feel now? Hopefully a little calmer and more centered. Maybe your heart rate is decreased a little. Maybe your breathing is slower. Maybe you've relaxed your core muscles a little bit. Lean into that feeling now, because today we are going to open with story time. Long, long ago, so long that nobody knows how many years, when the world was not yet born, the goddess floated in the emptiness, alone and waiting. No one knows how long she waited, humming to herself before she began to listen to her own song, singer and listener splitting into two, joined into one by the thread of the song itself. As the song string connecting the two halves of deity vibrated with the force of the song, God and goddess came together and apart, again and again, each joining, bringing new life, bursting forth into the void of the multiverse. From one such joining, one among many past and many yet to come, came our own universe and all that we know and love, all that has been and all that will be. As the lovers pulled away, the universe grew up between them, shining strands of life and light connecting them each to the other, a web of cosmic proportions. Each junction on the web shone with the light and energy coursing between the two lovers, energy pulsing and flowing and growing into stars, the stars expanding and multiplying and spinning fresh webs between them. The web of stars grew and spread, shaping itself into galaxies, the galaxies shaping themselves into clusters, the universal shape of the web repeating over and over from the beginning of time until the end of all things. Although the pattern started out the same, each weaving of the web produced something just a little bit different. A twitch of a string here, and all the colors of the rainbow could be seen. Red stars and blue stars, green planets and brown ones, all the colors of creation. A breath of vibration there, and the web of souls could reach through and touch the web of stars, coming together and creating life, vibrant points of consciousness, a new spark of life for every new junction of the webs. Each new spark of life reflected the original sparks that created all, shining and flickering. Each spark contributed to the song. Each song contributed to the vibrations that shook the web. Each vibration shimmered and grew into a new web of its own. Each new life shone with a slightly different hue, weaving a slightly different pattern into the web. Throughout it all, the lovers continued to sing to each other, bridging the universe with their humming song, spinning the web of vibrating strings, each one connected to every other, to infinity and beyond. When the web grew large enough, more deities began to spring forth from the network, each deity a reflection of the lovers who were a reflection of each other, each deity just a little different, humming a different tune, spinning a slightly different web. Each deity connected to every other one by the great universal web, for never again would deity be alone. The song was sung, and the web was spun, and the universe moved on, and every spark of consciousness contributed to the weaving. Every fragment and reflection of deity contributed to the great song. The web now shines with an uncountable number of lights, reflects itself in uncountable fractal iterations, and yet every piece remains connected, and every action spreads its vibrations across the entire web. From the great thoughts of the lovers to the wishes of the youngest humans on a little planet called Earth in an obscure corner of the universe, all contributes to the whole of the holy web. The web is not always perfect. Sometimes a weaving does not hold, its junctions falling apart, its strands melting away as their vibrations cannot be sustained. Sometimes a weaving simply fades away, its vibrations transferred along the cosmic strings to another place, another piece. The lights fade away, only to reappear in another piece of the web, spinning another creation to add to the whole, for nothing is ever truly lost, only reshaped and respun. We humans have told this story again and again across so many cultures. In our hearts, we know of the spinning of the great web, and we tell its story in as many variations as there are reflections of deity. We've told of Grandmother Spider spinning her web of life, spinning our lives into the great web, each of us with our own lessons to learn, our own junctions to cross, our own smaller webs of life to create. Grandmother Spider spins us out, measures our web, and carries our cord from one life to the next, maintaining the continuity of her creation. We've told of Ariadne, mistress of the labyrinth, and how the thread she spun out of her love for Theseus helped save his life, enabling him to find his way out of the labyrinth after killing the Minotaur, for the threads of life and death connect us all through love. We've told the story of Athena and Arachne, how even the smallest reflections of deity can spin webs that rival those of the mightiest, and how even the mightiest reflections of deity can show the basest of emotions, unraveling and changing the webs of others out of jealousy and spite. Perhaps you've heard of the Moirai, the Fates, the spinners and weavers who sit among us. 3 faces of fate, 3 faces of goddess, 3 faces of deity, each working with the others to spin out the web of the universe, to spin the thread, to measure the thread, and determine the final position of the thread in the great work. The work of all of these cannot be done, however. Their efforts to expand the web cannot continue without our own contributions, without your contributions. It's our lives, our loves, our ambitions and dreams that provide the raw materials with which the fates spin this web. We choose the direction of our destiny, and the fates weave us together. We choose our goals, and the fates paint them into the grand picture. This story is the reason that my church is called the Weavers of the Web. We bring our lives into the community, and we weave a web of light that connects us each to the other and out into the world. And we are the ones, as clergy, charged with holding space for this web of light, for nurturing it and helping it continue to grow and strengthen and evolve. I wrote that story way back in 2017 for a harvest festival ritual. And I had kind of started thinking about opening Weavers of the Web, but I didn't quite have the name yet, although obviously I had the imagery going on. A couple weeks ago, we had the topic of community for our Wednesday discussion, and I wanted to come back to that idea in the story of the web of points of light to explain how I see weavers and my role as a cleric in the greater community. I'd actually completely forgotten about this story, but it jumped out of my notebook as I was looking for ideas about things to talk about for the community discussion. And as I reread it, I realized just how perfect it was as an origin story for weavers and, what community means. In the wise ATC tradition of Wicca that I follow, we are taught Wiccan law using Lady Galadriel's New Wiccan Book of the Law, which you can find for free online in sacred texts. I'll drop a link in the show notes. For those of you not familiar with Wicca, this set of rules, for our tradition at least, is like our version of the Christian commandments, although not necessarily one shared by all witches and Wiccans, because, witches are like cats. But me and my students and trad cousins, at least, this is what we refer back to for ethics and guidelines. And there's over 80 of these rules, so it's not something I'm going to detail for you here. We take 3 seminary courses to go through all of it. But I bring it up because of rule number 37. And that rule reads, "The etheric web and energy vortices of the earth are in constant flux and motion to adjust to the needs of the planet. The sacred trust of the Wicca is to create and maintain centers of light and knowledge, using the magic of the divine spark within us to focus and channel the forces of the universal fire. And these are the channels established between the worlds of the stars and the realms of the earth, bringing in and regulating the spirit flames which energize and activate all life forms. Thus, we tend and guard the threads of creation, and we weave the patterns of life and manifestation in an ever-evolving tapestry." That's the end of the rule. Again, those points of light and tapestry. And this is my personal great work in this life with Weavers of the Web, to create and maintain a center of light and knowledge, a node on that great network of light, a light among many points of light, and all of us interconnected. This week on the Wheel of Wise that my tradition works with, we are wrapping up the runic fortnight of Algiz, which is the rune of protection, of sacred guardianship, of strength, but strength that doesn't necessarily come from violence or action, but from presence. Algiz, to me, has always felt like a great shield of light and energy, and it's not used to attack, but rather to hold the line, to say, as perhaps Saturn in Aries does, this far and no farther, right? In the past, I've likened it to a Patronus spell, though we won't be doing that anymore for obvious reasons. But nowadays, I think of Odin, of Hugin and Munin, thought and memory flying across the world, bringing back all the news to the one who waits, who watches, who prepares, who always has a backup plan for the backup plan. And that's what I think a cleric does, what a priestx should do, what I try to do. In my meditations this last fortnight, for me, have been all about what it means to be a cleric, not in robes and ritual, although that's an important part of it too, but in times of crisis, not just as the one with all the answers, and let's be honest, nobody has all the answers, honey, but as the one who stays, the one who holds the line, who holds the space, and who protects even when it hurts. We don't always fight. As witches, we don't always belong on the front lines, but we always watch, we witness, and we prepare. And when the world comes undone and the tower falls, we try to remain standing so that we can help put the pieces back together into something better. The iron stillness that I open all of my events with now is just one way that I'm working to hold that line for my community, to give others a foundation upon which to stand and fight when they need to, a place to rest and to breathe. The world is loud out there. Everything fights for our attention and our energy, demands it. How much more of an act of resistance does it become then? To rest and to wait and to choose carefully when and how to give our energy and time and attention. How much more rebellious is it to say, I will not be moved or changed or forced by the likes of you? Not that it's easy. Not at all. All the more reason then to practice holding stillness and calm when it is safe and quiet. When we are safe, we practice that skill and strengthen that muscle when we don't need it, so that it will be there when we do. And then that connection to deity, that calm and stillness becomes our spell, our patronus, our shield against that loud and raging crazy world when it tries to beat us down. The ancient curse goes, may you live in interesting times. But even an interesting world needs all of us. It needs the fighters, but it also needs the rest of us. It needs the healers of body and soul. It needs the bringers of smiles coming like lanterns in the darkness. It needs the tricksters who show us the villains on every side and just how silly they are. The ones who will serve the warriors a hearty feast before sending them back out. The world needs those of us who believe that everybody can grow and evolve, and who are willing to try again even when others give up. I am the cleric. I am the one who waits, who watches, who listens. And I'm helping to build and strengthen that web of light and community so that it is strong enough to catch anybody who falls apart or falls through the cracks. And I'm here to tell you that you are enough. You are worthy of community. Just because you've fallen apart in the past doesn't mean you will again. You can learn from your past and change your own future. You can cup your hands before you, and you can protect and nurture the light of the community by standing firm in your power and your connection to the earth below and the starry heavens above. And breathe. And if that's all you can do today, that's enough. You're listening to The Confident Witch, and I'm glad you're here. If this episode gave you a moment of peace or a chance to breathe for yourself, please share it. Pass it on to someone you know who needs to take a breath, and make sure you're following the show. That's one of the ways that we can protect and support each other. Know that you are not alone. You can tap into stillness and connection anytime, right here or with me at Keys to Manifestation and Weavers of the Web. Big things are coming. Are you ready? Stay magical. Stay confident. And by the way, so mote that shit.